Earth Systems 3209, Unit 2, Historical Geology. References can be found in the textbook on Chapters 7 or 6 and 8, and also in Appendix A and B. Unit 2, Topic 4.1, Life Forms and Geologic Time. This presentation will focus on outlining the divisions of geologic timescale and recognizing that the Phanerozoic eon represents the emergence of the very first visible life in the rocks. When we look at the geologic timescale is divided into different divisions of varying lengths of geologic time. The biggest unit of geologic time is called the eon. Eons, in turn, represent the largest lifespan on Earth. Eras are divisions of eons, periods are divisions of eras, and epochs are divisions of periods. So when we look at the divisions of the geologic time scale, eons represent the largest span of time, which is divided into eras, which is divided into periods, and further divided into epochs, which represent the smallest span of time. If we look at this in a chart form, starting from the bottom of the chart, we see an area of time called the Precambrian time. And this is defined as a collective group of time that existed before the Cambrian age. The Precambrian is not really an eon, but is divided into three different eons. The Hadean being the oldest, the Archean, the second oldest, and the Proterozoic, the third oldest. So progressing through the Precambrian period, we have three eons representing this time: the Hadean, the Archean, and the Proterozoic. When we move into the most recent eon, called the Phanerozoic, this represents when life was first seen as fossils in rocks. And the Phanerozoic is broken into three predominant eras: the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Cenozoic. Through each of these three eras, life can be seen preserved in rocks as fossils. The names of the eons are as follows. The Phanerozoic represents the most recent eon, and the most recent eon began approximately 540 million years ago, and this is the evidence of the very first visible life in the rock record. In Precambrian time, which is represented as number 2 here, is divided into three different eons, the oldest being the Hadean, followed by the Archean, and followed by the Proterozoic. If we move over to the chart representing Precambrian time, at approximately 4.5 billion years ago, which is 4,500 million years ago, we see the birth of the Earth. From that time to approximately 3,800 million years ago, we see no evidence of life in the Earth. During this time, the Earth went through its segregation, where it formed a hydrosphere, an atmosphere, and the geosphere segregated, forming the layers that we see inside the Earth today. At approximately 3,800 million years ago, these are the oldest rocks that are dated on Earth. Shortly after 3.8 billion years ago, we see the oldest fossils, which is found in the Archean eon. The oldest fossils that we see, dating back approximately 3,500 million years ago, will be fossils such as bacteria and simple one-celled organisms. It wasn't until the birth of the Proterozoic at approximately 2,500 million years ago we see a transition of life in the Earth. This is initiated by oxygen being released into the atmosphere. With the release of the very first oxygen into the atmosphere at approximately 2 billion years ago, we see the birth of a different cell structure. These are multicell organisms called eukaryotes. Eukaryotic cells continued to advance and develop and become more complex as the Proterozoic progressed, until we get up to approximately 540 million years ago, and this is where we see the very first remnants of hard-bodied fossils. And this marked the beginning of the Phanerozoic eon, which marked the beginning of the very first visible life in the rocks within Earth. If we look at the different eras that make up the Phanerozoic eon, the most recent era is called the Cenozoic, and this represents recent life on Earth. The middle life is represented by an eon called the Mesozoic, and ancient life is represented by an eon referred to as the Paleozoic. Further divisions of time, eras are subdivided into periods, and periods into epochs. To reiterate the divisions of geologic time, we have the oldest divisions of geologic time, known as eons. Eons are divided into eras. Eras are divided into periods, and periods are further divided into the smallest division of geologic time, is called epochs. If we look at the Precambrian represents a period of time when there is no visible life in the Earth's rocks. That is, no visible fossils that represent hard body parts. But there are many different soft body fossils and trace fossils that suggest that life once existed before 540 million years ago. So the Precambrian is not divided into smaller time units because the events are not known in great detail due to age, erosion, and lack of fossil life forms. There's also little direct evidence of fossils due to a lack of hard body parts. Mainly fossils found in this time frame consist of soft body parts and traces of once living organisms. As the Precambrian came to a close, fossil records showed multicellular organisms, which made it possible for the evolution of more complex plants and animals in the Paleozoic era. The main fossil evidence that is predominant in the Precambrian era eon is algae, bacteria, and other traces of soft-bodied organisms. The Paleozoic era represents the time from approximately 540 million years ago to approximately 245 million years ago. This is the beginning of the Paleozoic era and marked by the first appearance of life forms with hard body parts. So this period of time represents the first visible life that we see in the rocks. There is an abundance of fossils in the Paleozoic, which allowed scientists to construct a detailed timescale for the last 13% of geologic time. And the Paleozoic time can be divided into the early Paleozoic, which is made up of the Cambrian and Ordovician periods, the middle Paleozoic, which is made up of the Silurian and Devonian periods, and late Paleozoic time, which is made up of the Carboniferous and the Permian periods. If we advance to more recent geologic time, we then move into the Mesozoic era. The Mesozoic era consists of three periods of time: the Triassic, followed by Jurassic, and followed by Cretaceous. During this era of time, reptiles were the most dominant life form on Earth. And the one reptile that dominated, especially in the Jurassic period, will be the dinosaur. After the Mesozoic, we then move into the most recent and our current era, which is called the Cenozoic era. This era ranges in time from approximately 66 million years ago to present time, and it consists of two periods of time. First, the Tertiary period, and the most current period is called the Quaternary period. During this period of time, mammals were the dominant life form. Let's have a look at some examples. Example number 1 reads, which is the shortest unit of geologic time? So as we just discussed in previous slides, the geologic time is divided into largest divisions to smallest divisions. The largest division will be the eon, which is made up of eras, which is made up of periods, followed by epochs. So to answer the question A would be epoch B. So the answer to question A is B. Next question reads, what part of the geologic timescale makes up the largest percent of Earth's history? So if we look back at the period or at the geologic timescale, we see that the different lengths of time representing the different eras, the Cenozoic would represent the most recent era and would be the shortest period of time. The Devonian is a period which is a subdivision of an era of the Paleozoic era and is only represented by a short period of time. The Paleozoic will be the oldest era. That's when life first formed, and it has a significant amount of geologic time. But if we look back at the very first division of geologic time, that would be our Precambrian. And the Precambrian is made up of three different eons, the Hadean, the Archean, and the Proterozoic. And this represents 87%. So the Precambrian represents 87% of all geologic time. So our answer for the second question would be D. If you look at the third question, the Precambrian time consists of which three eons? Our choices: A, Archean, Hadean, and Phanerozoic; B, Hadean, Phanerozoic, Proterozoic; C, Phanerozoic, Archean, Proterozoic; and D, the Proterozoic, the Archean, and Hadean. So if we look at the arrangement of geologic time, we notice that the Precambrian is made up of three different eons. And three of these different eons would be answer to D. The Proterozoic, the Archean, and Hadean. In each of the other choices, we see the Phanerozoic, which is the most recent that contains visible life, and it would be in the choices A, B, and C, which would make three of these choices incorrect. So our answer to the third question would be D. Your turn. Take the time and complete the following questions. Solutions will follow on the next slide, so you can pause the recording now to prepare your answers. Let's have a look at the questions. Question number 1. Which represents the greatest expanse of geologic time? So when we looked at our introduction slides, we noted that eons are made up of eras, which are made up of periods, which are made up of epochs. So the greatest expanse of time will be represented by the eon. So our answer for the very first question would be A. Second question reads, which eon dates back 570 million years and has the meaning of visible life? Usually when we get into the geologic timescale, we're not really requiring students to memorize dates or times of the different spans of geologic time, but in this case, you see the hint of visible life. And the very first visible life came in the most recent eon, which would date it back approximately 540 to 570 million years ago. And that eon would be the Phanerozoic eon. The other three eons, the Archean, the Hadean, and the Proterozoic, all make up what is known as Precambrian time. Let's look at the last question. It reads, which time span would least likely to contain fossil evidence? So again, if we look at the choices, A, Cenozoic, which is the most recent era, which has ample fossil evidence. B, Mesozoic, which is middle life, is also found in the Phanerozoic, which contains a lot of fossil evidence. And C, the Paleozoic, which is the oldest era in the Phanerozoic eon, and it also contains a lot of fossil evidence. And if we look at answer D, that would be the Precambrian, which is made up of the three eons, yes, the Archean, the Hadean, and the Proterozoic. Neither of these three have any visible life, therefore they would lack the most fossil evidence. So the answer to the third question is D. So as the review, answer to question 1, the greatest expanse of geologic time will be the eon, which eon basically represents visible life. That would be your Phanerozoic. Which time span would least likely contain fossil evidence? And that would be your Paleozoic. In summary, the time scale is divided into 4 eons. Eons are then divided into eras, and there are 3 main eras. Eras are further subdivided into periods, which there are 11 periods. And periods are divided into epochs, and there are 7 epochs found in the Cenozoic era. So as an overview and summary, we have 4 eons, starting from the oldest. We have the Hadean, the Archean, and the Proterozoic. These make up a collective unit of time called the Precambrian time, which represents 87% of all geologic time since the Earth first formed. Then we have 3 eras, starting from the oldest era. We have the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the most recent being the Cenozoic. These 3 eras make up the most recent eon, known as the Phanerozoic. Then we move into periods, which make up eras. In the Paleozoic, we have the Cambrian, followed by Ordovician, followed by Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and Cretaceous. At the end of the Paleozoic, we mark the beginning of a new time. This time is the Mesozoic time. It has 3 periods: the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. Then at the end of the Mesozoic, we have the Cenozoic era, which is the most recent era and dates back to approximately 66 million years ago, when the Quaternary and the Tertiary. In actual fact, Looking back on now, these two periods here are actually put in wrong. The Tertiary will be the oldest period in the Cenozoic, followed by the Quaternary period. So these two periods should be reversed. If we look at dominant life forms found in the Paleozoic, we see the Cambrian and the Ordovician mainly having invertebrate life forms, followed by the Silurian, Devonian, where fishes dominated in the oceans, followed by the last two periods in the Paleozoic, the Carboniferous and Cretaceous, where amphibians dominated, followed by the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous, where reptiles dominated, and finally we see mammals dominating in the Cenozoic. So again, be sure that you reverse two of these periods. They are actually in the opposite place, in opposite order. Tertiary will be your first period in the Cenozoic, followed by Quaternary.